Everything we do is going to be about winning. Okay, we're going to learn to do things the right way, and that's the only way we're going to do them. Because if it doesn't help us, we're not doing it, man. That's just as simple as it gets. Win the Super Bowl.
That's good.
I mean it, too. You know, one of the things that the only reason you become a head coach in this league, in my opinion, is to win. That's it. That's the bottom line. If you do it for any other reason, you're wrong.
Hey football fans, welcome to the Washington Command Center. So today I want to talk about some of the talent available out there on practice squads. This episode specifically about some of the return aces we could swipe to round us out even better going into this new era of Washington football, an era where this proud franchise can once again command respect. And what better way to kick off this new era than subscribing here to the first, the real, the OG Washington Command Center, so you can find your way back to some of the most opinionated and ice-cold calculated takes on all things Washington Commanders. While you're at it, ring that bell, hit that like button. It's free to do, and it means a lot. After snapping up some super talented young corners this past week, I took a look at all the other talented players that have become available after being waived and slipping on the practice squads, or even still out there in free agency. And there's tons of guys that can offer us some upgrades in a few positions and needs. But I'm going to start out with the return game. Now, first off, I love Dax Milne, and I think he has a ton of potential as a wide receiver that can make an impact on the offense in a role as a dependable chain mover that can provide sparks with nice chunk plays. But as a returner, he's more of a sure-handed, safe returner. He hasn't really shown the type of return ability that could provide the same kind of sparks I think he can as a wide receiver. And I know that Jahan Dotson has that type of ability, but with the impact injuries have had on our team, I don't think we want to utilize our first round wide receiver there with the added risk involved. Luckily for us, there are plenty of talented returners out there worth taking a look at. So here's my top 10 practice squad raid worthy returners. Starting out with a trio of Bears practice squad guys. And for a team so thin on talent everywhere else, they certainly have a ton of potential in kick returners. With the new addition of Amir Smith-Marset from Minnesota, who was a great return man in college, along with Dante Pettis, who's one of the most consistent high-end returners in the NFL. They even have rookie Velus Jones, who was a bit of a return ace in college. Khalil Herbert and Darnell Mooney, they offer talent there if needed too. And with all that talent on the roster, they've had some high potential guys just miss the cut. But the type of talent that they let go could provide us a nice boost in the return game. First off, they got Darrington Evans, who was a very solid return man in App State. He's 5'10", 200 pounds. He ran a 4.4 40, and while he was at App State, he had 1,439 yards returned for a 25.7 average. Now, that's the kind of guy that could give us a nice boost. But there's some other guys there that I like even better, like Nasimba Webster. He's 5'9", 176 pounds. He had a 4.55 40, and in the NFL, he's had a 22-yard average for 404 total yards. But in college, he had a 23.2 yard average, and he amassed 1,114 yards. His best seasonal average came as a sophomore, where he had a pretty nice 27.5 yard average. So he's definitely a prospect worth taking a look at. But the most intriguing guy actually didn't even make their practice squad after cuts. So he's sitting out there in free agency, and that's Savon Scarver. 5'11", 176 pounds. He had a 4.4 40 with an explosive 38-inch vert. This is a guy that had a 27.4 yard average throughout his college career and amassed 2,935 yards. He also had a spectacular 33.7 yard average as a sophomore, and that was good enough to land him the Jet Award, which is the college football award for the best return man in the country. So Scarver is a guy that showed off elite potential, and with Nate Katzer here, our special teams coach, I think we can see this guy be something truly special. And since he's not on the roster, he's a guy we could actually sign to the practice squad and get for free. After the Bears, another team that's got some surprising talent stashed on the practice squad, even though their 53-man roster doesn't look great, is the Seahawks, who have a late-round rookie and a second-year undrafted player at wide receiver that have both flashed ability in the return game, or, a little more proven. But they both definitely have the traits that are perfect. First off, you got Kadeem Johnson, who went undrafted last year from SDSU, 5'10", 186 pounds. He had a 4.5 140, 35-inch vert. He's definitely the more proven out of the two as a returner. In college, he had a 26.7 yard average, which is pretty awesome overall. Then he had 1,496 yards total, and his best season came as a freshman, where he had a whopping 27.9. So he's definitely proven himself a lot. He's got all the traits. But even though he's a little less proven, I prefer the other guy, who a lot of content creators were big fans of in this past draft as a wide receiver prospect, and that's Melton from Rutgers, 5'11", 198 pounds. I don't know how this guy made it to the 7th round. I really don't know how he made it to their practice squad. He had a blazing 4.3 440, and while he only had 293 return yards at Rutgers, he did have a 58-yard punt return, which is awesome. He's a guy that was viewed as a possible Terry 2.0, as a mid-round draft pick with a ton of potential to overachieve, but he ended up sliding. Don't know why. He's got that great potential to help out in the passing game while having the elite speed and the kind of shiftiness that could translate very well to the return game. He's a bit unproven there, but a guy I think adds a ton of value to the team if we could pick him up. So I'm a huge fan of Melton. I think he could be a good returner. Either way, he'd be a great guy to add to the team. Another player in that same vein, a small, speedy, shifty wide receiver who's flashed in the return game but doesn't have as much experience as some of the other guys, is Tampa Bay's Devinmpkins, 5'8", 155 pounds. I think he's from Utah or Utah State. He had a 24.9 yard average and only 398 yards in college, but 4.35 40, 38-inch vertical leap. He had a 45-yard punt return in college, so those two have that punt return ability that's quite a bit more rare. and they both scored, so they flashed at that, shown that they have that ability, but he's another guy that can help out offensively with those kind of traits and could translate to something very special in a return role. Another interesting guy that we could take a look at on the Steelers practice squad, happens to be a former Eagle as well, is Jason Huntley. He's 5'9", 193 pounds, explosive speedster with a 4.37 40 and a 39.5-inch vert. He averaged 25.8 yards in college with 1,521 yards total. And he had an impressive 29.6 yard average in his sophomore season. So he's a guy that a lot more proven in college. Small, shifty, speedy. The kind of guys you look for to be a returner. Then there's a far more proven type of guy in Arizona's Victor Bolden. He's 5'9", 178 pounds. He's got a 4.54 40, and he's just small and compact, hard to get a hold of. And he's shown off the ability in the NFL, having a 23.2 yard average in the NFL for 512 yards. But even before that, he showed massive potential at Oregon State, where he racked up 2,420 yards with an average of 22.4 yards. His best season came as a junior, where he had a 25.2 yard average. So he's still got quite a bit more to tap into in the NFL. He's shown what he's made of in college. High potential guy, but also has been productive in the NFL. Finally, we're to my top pick for a possible return man. And it's a guy I've been recommending since last year. Surprisingly, or not so much, he's still on the Chargers practice squad, especially now since they've stolen DeAndre Carter away from us in free agency. I think it would be appropriate for us to return the favor by snatching their 2025th round pick, Joe Reed. 6 foot, 220 pounds. He's got 4.4 speed. And, most importantly of all, he's a local kid from Virginia who played wide receiver at UVA, but the Chargers have been trying to convert him a la Antonio Gibson into a running back / offensive weapon type. So he offers that bonus versatility to add value offensively, just like Carter did, receiving and carrying out of the backfield, but with better suited size and athleticism than Carter. He's bigger, he's faster, stronger, younger. So, so far in the NFL, he's been solid as a returner with a 20.7 yard average with a total of 35 yards. But he showed elite potential and consistency in college, with a 28.7 yard average for a massive 3,042 return yards while at UVA. He also steadily improved until reaching a whopping 33.2 yard average as a senior, and that was good enough to make him a Jet Award winner. I think with our coaching staff, we can maximize his potential. Nate Katzer is a beast. I see him, he can take a massive leap forward with his performance, much like DeAndre Carter did here, going from a solid but average return man to one of the best in the league. Like, DeAndre Carter wasn't that special before he came here. Joe Reed has all the tools to do the same, with even more potential in other areas as well. So, like I said, he would be my top pick to make us stronger in the kick return game. But if you guys are keeping count, you might have picked up on the fact that Joe was only the 9th guy I listed. That's because my last guy isn't a pure kick returner. He's actually a very rare punt return ace. And he's setting on division rival Philadelphia Eagles practice squad, which is all the more reason for us to steal him away just to make their bench weaker. But his rare talent is really all the reason we need. Britton Covey, 5'8", 170 pounds, 4'4", 340, small, speedy, shifty, and he had an 11.9 punt return average with a whopping 1,092 punt return yards for Utah, along with a very respectable 25.4 kick return average for 838 kick return yards. His best punt return season average was a 16.1 as a junior, and his best kick return average was a 30 as a senior. So, super impressive, super versatile, very rare. I would be through the moon if we could snatch up Joe Reed and Britton Covey, and I bet Nate Katzer would be jumping for joy too. He helped a journeyman in DeAndre Carter soar to new heights. There's no telling what he could do with these young, super talented players. Like I mentioned before, they have a type of versatility that should excite Scott Turner as well offensively. Both of these are the kind of guys that could shine in that same offensive role that Carter had last year. Receiving and especially running sweeps out of the backfield. I think these guys would be easy swaps for Jonathan Williams in Joe Reed's case. He offers an upgrade in athleticism, youth, and versatility. We can plug him in there as the third running back. He's got the build for it. He's got the speed. Not to mention the fact that swapping him for Williams lets us get rid of a Dallas native in favor for a good old boy from Virginia in Reed. But that'd be the perfect swap out. And as far as the punt return specialist in Covey goes, John Bostic would be the ideal swap. I mean, come on. He's a guy that he's practically a liability at his position. And to swap that out for a guy with the potential to give us a rare leg up in an area few teams can earn a consistent advantage in, and with everyone in the league looking to gain those little margins anyway, Covey's punt return ability could add up to be huge in the scheme of things. If we can swap him out for Bostic, at the very least, give him David Mayo's roster spot. Mayo's a guy that's mostly going to be contributing on special teams anyway, if everything goes right, because we damn sure don't want to see him in on defense. So give him that spot. And with guys like Percy Butler, Derek Forrest, and Cam Sims as, aces at defending kicks in their own right, we really don't need Mayo. So add those guys that contribute, in their positions and on special teams, along with one of the best punters in the league in Tress Way, Cheese, who was a Pro Bowl alternative as a rookie, and Joey Sly. Adding Reed and Covey to that could boost our special teams to being one of the best special teams unit in the NFL. I mean, we've got those defense aces, the gunners, the tacklers. We got some guys that can block kicks. I mean, then we got the great punter. So why not add these guys that could make us special on the offensive type side? Guys that could return. And like I said, everyone's trying to find those little margins of advantage. And this could make us, like I said, one of the best special teams in the NFL. And that's, one of 3 phases. So we have massive potential in the other 2 phases. So being the best at one thing could be a dynasty type foundational piece, something to build on in this new era of Washington football, an era where this proud franchise can be excited for every second of the game, offense, defense, and especially special teams. Once again, there's no better way to kick off this new era than subscribing here to the Washington Command Center, so you can find your way back to some of the most opinionated and ice-cold calculated takes on all things Washington Commanders, along with crazy little personnel scouting recommendations like this. I've got more of these coming out leading up to the season. Going to have them out this week for different position groups that I found some free capability upgrades out there for the taking. So hit that like button and subscribe to see those when they drop. And if you listen this long, I love y'all. Peace.